Infinite waves lapping the shore, momentarily reflecting the sun, all from the same sea. Lakhpat is the last sentinel, situated at the western end of India on the India-Pakistan border, at the junction of Kauri Creek and the Rann of Kutch. A fortified town with high walls, several gates and bastions made out of hard stone. Legend says that it was founded by Rao Lakha, so it is named Lakhpat. It was once a port exporting rice and other items. Several rice dehusking tools of those days were found at the site. After a short period of prosperity, Lakhpat lost its maritime significance in 1851 AD, when the Sindhu River changed its course. Once a flourishing town with a population of 15,000, today it is almost deserted, with only a few families living here. Withdrawn into the silence of its cenotaphs and memorial stones, few have the courage to stand up to its cruel climate. On the west, the eternal sea crashes on its shores, and on the east, the great Rann of Kutch tears the horizon. The most important structures at Lakhpat are the tomb of Ghosh Muhammad and a Gurudwara of the Satnami Odyssey sect. Ghosh Muhammad was a famous saint, revered equally by Hindus and Muslims. A beautiful tomb was constructed using local hard black stone after his death in 1855 AD. It is an octagonal dome structure with 4 entrances. The corner pilasters, foliated arches on each side, door jambs and niches are exquisitely carved using floral motifs and the tree of life. This Gurudwara, also known as Guru Ki Bagh, is one of the sacred places associated with the life of Guru Nanak Sahib, the founder of the Sikh religion. It is believed that he embarked for Hajj to Mecca from Lakhpat. The Gurudwara here was constructed to commemorate this event, and it is visited by Sikhs throughout the year. Guru Nanak was 30 years old in 1499 when he began extensive travels to spread the message of God. Accompanied by his Muslim rabab player, Mardana, for company, Guru Nanak undertook long journeys to convey his message to the people in the form of musical hymns. Guru Nanak chose this medium to propagate his message because it was easily understood by the population of the time. Wherever he travelled, he used the local language to convey his message to the people. He travelled throughout the Indian subcontinent and further east, west and north to spread his mission. Wherever he went, he set up local cells called manjis, where his followers could gather to recite hymns and meditate. The Lakhpat Gurudwara houses relics such as a decoratively carved wooden cradle, wooden sandals that are believed to have belonged to Guru Nanak Dev, and manuscripts and markings of two of the important heads of the Odyssey sect. The Odyssey sect is an order of sadhus which was founded by the elder son of Guru Nanak, Baba Sri Chand. Odysseys consider themselves the followers of Guru Nanak. Although they recognize the line of the 10 Gurus from Nanak to Gobind Singh, the Odysseys were much more interested in the chain of succession which descended from Sri Chand down to the reigning Mahant, superior of the branch they followed. The Gurudwara was seriously affected by a cyclone in 2000 and a severe earthquake in 2001. The Sikh community based in Gandhidham, a significant port town in Kutch, approached the Gujarat State Archaeological Department for permission to carry out renovation work. The historic Gurudwara, being a protected monument, the community was not given permission for repair by the State Department of Archaeology, as the state was concerned about the level of their knowledge about conservation methods and practices. When the CRCI, Cultural Resources Conservation Initiative, New Delhi, approached the state government to permit it to carry out the conservation, the request was granted. The Archaeological Survey of India and UNDP agreed to finance the project. CRCI began the work under the supervision of the State Directorate of Archaeology. The Lakhpat Gurudwara restoration case is a pioneering example of the government of Gujarat facilitating actual conservation work of a protected monument by a non-governmental organization and people's participation. The restoration of this Gurudwara demonstrates a sophisticated, holistic understanding of both the technical and social aspects of conservation process and practice. Most significantly, the emphasis on involving and empowering the community ensures the long-term survival of the historic building and its associated cultural traditions. Training given to local youth in correct conservation methods, emphasizing traditional construction techniques, has revitalized local craft skills and revived the use of indigenous materials.
I could see that this building was just about 200 years old, and being a conservation architect and being a Sikh, I was most intrigued by this, and I was further most impressed that the site was a protected monument by the State Department of Archaeology, Government of Gujarat. So this particular building is a courtyard structure, is a courtyard building because it was meant to be, it was an Odyssey dera. You have an outer enclosure, then you have the second enclosure, the outer enclosure has that big gate where the Nagar Khana was, where the big drum was. Then you have the second enclosure, which is the courtyard, then you have the veranda, and finally the room inside. There was a lot of overpaint, there was a lot of enamel paint on carved timber members, on stone carving, so that all had to be removed. So we got the art conservators from Delhi, And they also trained some local people who could kind of help with paint removal and so on and so forth. And of course then we had a very interesting dialogue with government of Gujarat through the process of, through the entire period. Because there were times when, Mr. Rawat, who's in the Department of Archaeology, who was very particular that we don't use any wrong materials and we are, sensitive to the conservation issues. So he would periodically visit the site. When we finished the work, one particular anecdote that I'd like to share is that when we were doing the art restoration work, we were removing layers and layers of lime wash which were on the historic walls. And there was some very interesting line work which I called historic graffiti on the walls. With a boat, and writings of pilgrims who came from the Punjab in the late 1800s. And there are these, things written on the walls that we came on so and so date and did our pilgrimage to this place, and then we went to Dwarka and so on and so forth. And the script in which they've written is something which is that, which we call Ladiwar script in Punjabi, in Gurmukhi, where, you don't break up the word. It's a continuous, string of alphabets. And this gentleman, the Sikh gentleman from Punjab who's been in Kutch since 1960s, he kind of called me and he said, do you see this? He says, what you have done by removing the lime wash from here is you've removed the curtain which separated us from our heritage. And he says even in Punjab, this Ladiwar script does not exist, and here we have it on our walls in the Gurudwara, which was a very satisfying kind of, for us we looked at it as just a graffiti, but for them they could see more meaning in it than just simple, graffiti on the walls.
Impressed by the efforts, UNESCO has conferred the UNESCO Asia Pacific Heritage Award to the Lakhpat Gurudwara. The restoration of this Sikh house of worship demonstrates a sophisticated, holistic understanding of both the technical and social aspects of conservation. Careful attention to detail and sensitive repair work have ensured the retention of the building's historic character. The emphasis on involving and empowering the community ensures the long-term survival of the historic building and its associated cultural traditions. This is just one example of the efforts of the Gujarat government in encouraging public-private partnership in restoring and conserving important monuments and buildings that reflect the rich culture and heritage of Gujarat. The restoration of the Gurudwara returns it to its place of pride in the Lakhpat community, showcasing the distinctiveness of their Guru Nanak Dev's legacy, both locally as well as nationally. The Gurudwara at Lakhpat is an active place of worship and is frequently visited by tourists and pilgrims. It is a destination for heritage and spiritual tourism. Lakhpat, the ancient port city. Standing deserted, desolate and sparsely populated, invokes reminiscences of an age long gone by. Time frozen for ages.